Hello, this is Gray Hughes Investigates. Yesterday, there was an arrest made in the Jholie Moussa case. In the articles I was reading, it mentioned that there was going to be a press conference today, and many people sent me the link, and I appreciate your help on that. It saves me a lot of time. Now, we're going to watch this press conference, and I will interject at a certain point just to show you the locations, all right? So let's get started on the video right now.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Julie Parker. I am the Director of Media Relations Bureau for the Fairfax County Police. We appreciate you being here today, and we are here to discuss yesterday's arrest of 18-year-old Nebiyu Ebrahim in the January murder of 16-year-old Jholie Moussa. While our department is incredibly grateful for this arrest, our hearts remain heavy for the Moussa family. This morning you'll hear from Chief Rossler, followed by Major Crimes Commander Rich Perez, and we're also going to let you know about some great police work that continues in this case. We'll get with you offline about that, but we're going to provide you, the media, access to some of this police work that's going on this morning, and likely will go on into this afternoon, and we will update the community on exactly what's taking place with that later today. More details on that to come, but for now, Chief Rossler.
On behalf of the men and women of the Fairfax County Police Department, my prayers continue for Jholie's family. This is yet another horrible, tragic death of a young person from our community that had a bright future. From the moment that we got this call, we did not stop to find Jholie. Major Perez will follow me and describe the steps that we have taken to date and where we are going in the future to make sure we bring justice to Jholie and her family. Again, my prayers continue for Jholie's family. Major Rich Perez, the commander of the Major Crimes Bureau, will now join me and provide you with details of the investigation. Rich?
Thank you. As already stated, yesterday homicide detectives filed charges against 18-year-old Ibrahim, Mr. Ibrahim, Nebiyu Ebrahim. The spelling on that is Nebiyu, N-E-B-I-Y-U, and Ibrahim is spelled E-B-R-A-H-I-M. He was charged with the murder of 16-year-old Jholie Moussa. On Saturday, January 13th, Jholie was reported missing by family members after she did not return home after leaving her residence the previous evening, Friday evening. The police department began an intensive investigation searching for Jholie, which led to the discovery of her body on January 25th. Her body was discovered by members of the search and rescue team, partially buried in a shallow site some distance off the footpath within Woodland Park, which is located in the 4800 block of Manor Drive in the Alexandria area of the county. During the ensuing investigation, detectives developed a person of interest regarding Jholie's disappearance and continued to vigorously investigate the case. On January 30th, we stood before you to inform you that a person of interest had in fact been developed and that every resource had been and would continue to be deployed towards identifying the person or persons responsible for Jholie's death. Yesterday, detectives served 18-year-old Nebiyu Ebrahim with the documents which charges him with Jholie's murder. He is the person of interest who was initially developed. After locating further evidence and establishing the probable cause necessary to make the arrest, he was taken into custody. The defendant lived in the 8400 block of Diablo Court in the Alexandria area of the county.
So as you just heard, Nabil Ibrahim lived in the 8400 block of Diablo Court, which couldn't be more appropriately named. Now look how close he lived to Jholie. Let's do a quick measuring of that. We've got 0.19 miles, so not even a quarter of a mile. And Nebiyu Ebrahim lived about, let's measure from the park. about 0.36 miles to the park. So he lives very close to the key locations in this case. Now let's take a look at the townhomes that Nebiyu Ebrahim lived in. He lived in one of these townhomes right here. I don't know the specific one because I do not know his father's last name, and I couldn't find anybody that lived in these townhomes that had his last name. All right, so let's get back to the press conference.
He lived there with his parents. This residence is within walking distance to where Jholie's body was discovered. Our investigation reveals that he was known to Jholie. They were not strangers to each other. Furthermore, our investigation reveals the defendant had previously assaulted Jholie. The Office of the Chief Medical Examiner has ruled the cause of death to be asphyxia by smothering and blunt force trauma, and the manner of death homicide. More than 25 law enforcement personnel, including detectives, FBI agents, crime analysts, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children representatives, and officers from outside our region assisted in the search for Jholie. A total of 12 search warrants have been executed on this case as the department has tried to bring justice to the death of Jholie Moussa. Every technology and resource available to the police department was deployed, and detectives, crime scene technicians, laboratory scientists, victim services advocates have worked arduously in the pursuit of justice. In fact, as we speak, officers from the dive team and the crime scene detectives are conducting yet another search for further possible evidence at a water retaining pond near the intersection of Pondside Terrace and Pole Road in the Alexandria area of the county. We will continue to provide our unwavering support to be with Jholie's family, friends, and loved ones as this criminal case progresses in court. We thank everyone, including the many agencies who assisted us in the early phase of this investigation, including our FBI partners, and particularly the Commonwealth Attorney's Office of Mr. Ray Morrow, who has been with us every step of the way and now will prosecute this case. Because this is a murder trial, which is now just beginning, the police department will likely have no further updates as this case now falls to the purview of the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. I will take a few questions, but please be understanding and mindful that questions that relate to the operation or evidence and the prosecution that's yet to occur, we won't be able to elaborate on those items. Questions?
How long had her body been there? Do you have any idea whether she had been there the entire time?
We do have a real good estimate as to how long the body had been there. That's one of those questions that I won't be able to go into.
What evidence are you searching for in the pond today?
We know precisely what it is that we're looking for, and again, that's one of those things that I'm not going to be able to further elaborate on, sir. Next question.
Since knowing that he was previously arrested for assaulting her, are you able to say anything about why he was released and whether, I guess, what sort of happened in that between his previous arrest and when she was killed?
I don't have that information, no, ma'am. Next question.
The previous assault arrest, is that a different incident?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, it is. The question was the previous assault a different incident? Yes, it was.
Were there two assaults?
There were two different assaults, a simple assault and a strangulation charge as well.
And those are separate incidents?
Yes, ma'am.
Which there were some concerns, I believe, on the part of the family initially that maybe this was handled as a runaway case as opposed to potentially a crime.
Yeah.
Any answer to that, Chief?
Sure.
I'm going to be direct on that question. We as a police department, from the moment we received the call, never stopped to find Jholie. We entered her into the missing juvenile system, which then has national and regional reach. As the Major said, we worked with our federal, state, and local jurisdictions in this area to find Jholie, and we worked very hard. One of the key issues in this is a law that was passed over a year ago which prohibits us from releasing the name of a juvenile in certain cases where they're a victim. And unfortunately, we had to go to the family and seek written consent. This is a family that was suffering, and for us to have to use this law that prohibits our transparency to find the suspect, to bring justice to the family, we're in a position of re-traumatizing families across our jurisdiction because of this law. And we used every resource to try to find her immediately. But sometimes in cases where children are missing, we need the name because we have social media and we can get tips. And that's one of the things that hinders cases like this. The law needs to change.
Chief, could I follow up on that? I don't believe there was any search for Jholie from the moment she was reported missing. I mean, her body was, if in fact it was there the day she went missing, I mean, never saw any search party. The family was desperate, and the family was not holding back the name. I mean, they were putting the name out everywhere.
I'm going to turn this over to Major Rich Perez because that's not true.
Okay.
There was searches that have occurred over and over and over again. Before the weekend was over, a multitude of searches, locations had in fact been done. The assertion which you just described is incorrect, that there were a multitude of searches, and we continued and endlessly to work with the family on it. Any more questions?
Do you know if there was, sir, if there was a period of time where she was alive after she was reported missing?
The question is, do I know if there was a period of time that she was alive after she was missing? I do know the answer to that question. Again, that's one of those things that I'm not going to be able to further elaborate on in any way, shape, or form.
So with the questions of, getting information out there about a search, could there have been a chance for the community to see her?
Again, where we found her on that day of the 25th was out in a park, at Woodland Park. If you're asking, could somebody have seen the body there? The body, as I described, was in a shallow gray, covered with leaves, as we have previously said. So it was pretty secluded off the path where we did find the body. Yes, sir.
Chief, were you guys at all concerned, knowing that you pretty much knew who had done this crime, and yet with the technicality of him having been charged with the assault and then being released, were you at all concerned that he could flee, that you had him, but the system was going to let him out before you could get him again?
We were not concerned at all. We worked with all our partners to bring justice in this case, and I have all the confidence in the world in Mr. Morrow and his staff to continue that journey of justice. The questions that you're posing right now, I can assure you that the police department and every other agency did everything possible to find Jholie. We are now doing everything possible to bring justice. Unfortunately, the details that we possess are for trial, and those will come out and answer your questions. So I'm going to conclude there. And again, my prayers to Jholie's family. I will continue to pray for them in our community. Thank you.
After the press conference, the media was given information that law enforcement was searching this pond. And if you look how close this is to Nebiyu Ebrahim's house. And they had tents set up right here and scuba divers in the water, and I guess the media was allowed to go there and film them doing this search. Now, Peggy Fox, who's been doing a really good job in total on covering this case. She's the only person who kept covering it day in and day out in the early stages of the case and has done updates every so often since then. All right, and she was standing about right in this area when she created the video that you see on her Facebook page. I'll put a link to her Facebook page in there if you want to keep following her. She's done a really good job. All right, so let's get to her video right now.
So I'm here live in Fairfax County, Virginia, in the Alexandria area, the Mount Vernon area specifically. This is not far where Jholie Moussa used to live, and it's also just a few blocks away from where the person now charged with her murder lives, where his family lives on Diablo Court. This is a pond, and if you can see over here, Fairfax County Police are set up, and they have had divers in this pond searching for evidence related to the case. So let me just flip around so you can kind of get a better look. This is basically like a townhouse community, and this little pond sits back here, you know, a drainage pond. It's a nice little place right here, but you can see over here on this back side of the pond. But over there where those there, I'm trying to zoom in. There is a diver there, if you can see that yellow thing in the water. That's a floater, and there's a diver underneath. Just a few minutes ago, we saw another diver come out after he was underwater for some time. I'm not sure exactly how long, but I saw him in there at least 10-15 minutes. He was in there longer because he was already in when I got here. But this is the second diver that I've seen in the water, and the police officers up there, the detectives underneath those tarps, watching out. We don't know what they're looking for. We were told they are diving. Their diving here is related to the Moussa case. Now, Jholie Moussa, let me flip this around. I can talk to you better, but Jholie Moussa was a 16-year-old girl who lived here in the Mount Vernon area, went to Mount Vernon High School, and on January 12th, she went missing. She was with her twin sister, Janae, and she told her sister that she'd be right back, left the house, walked out the door, apparently to meet somebody who was contacting her through her cell phone. I remember that it was on, I believe it was on Snapchat, communicating with someone, went to meet this person, and her sister thought, okay, she'll be right back. She never came back. And the girls had plans to spend the night at friends' houses and other plans like that. Their father was away and leaving his brother in charge of the girls, but the girls looked to be like they were going to be fine. But then Jholie never came home. The next morning, Janae realizes something's wrong because Jholie is not communicating on her cell phone. Her cell phone has gone dead. So mom and dad are called. Everybody comes in. They try to find her. They put up an iPad to try to figure out where her last phone call, where the last communication was on her phone, and they did find the last call to her phone was from Woodlawn Park. And the phone call came from the cell phone of a 13-year-old boy who lives in this area. I've spoken to that boy. He tells us that a man came up to him and asked him if he could borrow his phone. That's the phone call that was the last one made to Jholie Moussa, which is what the family told me. So who was that man? We don't know. But last night, 7 months after her disappearance and murder, we now have an arrest. I should mention, of course, that 2 weeks after she went missing, they found her body in Woodlawn Park, the same park where that phone call was made, and that is very close to this pond as well. Now, the person arrested last night is an 18-year-old named Nebiyu Ebrahim. He was 17 at the time, and the two were classmates. The two were high school students at Mount Vernon High School, and they had dated. She had broken it off with him. He had also been charged with 2 assaults on Jholie Moussa. One was a strangulation for which he pleaded guilty and was convicted. He spent 1 month in jail on the conviction of that strangulation assault charge. And as soon as he was released on that, yesterday, Fairfax County Police filed a first-degree murder charge against him in Jholie Moussa's murder. So this morning, Fairfax County Police held a news conference. I recorded that on this same Facebook channel, if you're interested. And they talked about the charge, they talked about the case, They said that they searched for Jholie Moussa from the start, from the moment they were called, which was the Saturday when the police called them. At the time, the family was very disturbed because there was no public notice of a missing girl in danger put out over that weekend, and that's what the family was concerned about. So anyway, now we have quite an investigation going on here. We're not sure what they're looking for. Perhaps it's her cell phone, perhaps it's something else. The medical examiner reports that her cause of death is asphyxiation by suffocation and blunt force trauma, I believe are the words. So still many questions. We'll be going to a court hearing this afternoon at 1:30 to see if we can find out more information, and I'll have more then. Just back here so you can see more of the, oh, sorry guys. Hard to see with the bright sun. Here we go. And that's the scene here. Divers in the water. Not really sure how long this is going to take. Oh, but I can tell you this. The family, just a little while ago, the victim's assistance folks brought the family here, and they were sitting at one of these picnic tables watching the search. So the family has not spoken to us publicly today. I did speak with both Jholie Moussa's mother and father. Her father now lives out in California, and mother lives in Texas. Much of the family is still here, aunts and uncles, and the entire family is looking for justice in this case. That's what they tell me. They want justice. The father told me last night that, you know, he's happy there's been an arrest. He said it's not going to bring Jholie back, but I'm comforted to know that justice is happening. And Sarita Moussa, her mother told me that she had a mixture of reactions: sadness, anger, relief. Anyway, we'll be covering the case and have more later.
As you take a look at this, you can see that Jholie Moussa lived right there, Nebiyu Ebrahim lived right there, and Jolie's body was found in this park right near the basketball courts. The cell phone of a 13-year-old kid was used by some unknown adult. It doesn't appear that that adult was actually Nebiyu Ebrahim, but perhaps the police were able to identify who that was and cut a deal with him so that they could get more information on Ibrahim. Now, the pond that they're searching here, we don't know exactly what they were searching for. However, we do know that Jholie died from being smothered and blunt force trauma. So perhaps they're finding or searching for the murder weapon, or perhaps even her cell phone, or maybe some sort of jewelry that Jholie was wearing, and they were able to get that information from this other person. And if they can find that in there, they can then tie Nebiyu Ebrahim to the case. I'm just not sure about that right now. I do know that they were searching the pond, and as Peggy said, the family was actually out here too, watching the search efforts. Okay? So that's all I have for you on this video here, and make sure that you go check out Peggy Fox's Facebook page for the latest updates. She's really good about getting that information. Of course, I'll be making videos as well as new information comes out. There was just basically about a 6 or 7 month absolutely desert of information. Nothing. All right? So I appreciate you all showing up to watch this video, and until next time, everybody, be safe out there.